All right, time to make our comic. So here we go, we're inside of Blender and we've got our character turnaround done. At this point we want to export it, but the first thing we should probably do to simplify things is get rid of the background. Easy, all we do is click up here on the camera, go down to Film, and click Transparent. And that should do it. That should work with either the Eevee engine or Cycles. I'll just leave it on Eevee, that's the default. And let's export that. So we're going to go render actually first, render image. There's our image. Then we go image, save. Make sure you select this to PNG. I've got a character PNG in my downloads folder. That should work great. And we're done. Now we could go inside of GIMP. Let's open that up and let's just have a look at that character file. So we're going to go to downloads and we're going to go character.png. I'm going to right click it and I'm going to open with the GIMP. And we could use the GIMP to cut out the characters that we want. That's one way to do it. We can also do this with this particular graphic. There's enough space in between that we can actually do this inside of, I'm going to discard the changes. I'm going to do this inside of Canva. So let's bring Canva over. And what I'm going to do first of all is set up a background, some frames. And those frames are going to make our job a whole lot easier. So all we do is do a search up here. So right, go to Elements first. And then click Frames. And these frames have some special properties which we're going to see in just a second. So, for example, if I went back and used something like, let's see, well, this is a good example. And I want to bring a background. So I've already created my background. I do show how to do that on a different video. But if we drag that background in here, let's just open it up for a second. We'll go here. Here's my background. If we drag that in, we're going to have a problem. Oh, that's not what I want. So the problem is it's not going to fit inside any of these because they all have angles on them. And that's a problem. So let's make our lives simpler. I'm going to just delete this page. And what I'm going to do instead is go back here to Elements, search for Frames, See All, and watch what happens now. This is really neat. So I don't know, I'll pick one that looks kind of interesting. I'll click on that one. And you can see how this frame doesn't conform to just a square. In fact, I can drag it out and change the size, proportions, etc. Do all those adjustments first. So get your layout all figured out first. But now, if I go back here and drag in the background, watch what happens. I can drag it inside the frame and it fills the frame. If I double click, I can move it around inside the frame. Well, there's not a lot of space left over, but you could shift it depending on how much of the frame or the picture there is on any of the particular sides. So the next thing we might want to do is put a character in. So let's go down here and let's do that. And I'm going to drag in my character now. And you could probably guess what the problem is. The character needs to be selected. So let's say I want to put the one facing away into the sunset. Double click. Okay, or actually don't double click, click Edit. And now what we can do is crop by simply dragging like this. Okay, and we've got our character. But look what happens. It tries to fill the frame. Easy solution. All we do is right click, make sure you've got the position where you want it, click Lock, Lock. And now we can drag our character in and change the size. We could even add a thought bubble or a speech bubble. So let's go to speech bubble. And we could drag one of those in. Oh, these are all frames as well too. Let's go for all. Maybe I don't want to use frames for that because what I'm going to do is simply go like this and then add some text on top of the bubble. So then we go to text, add a text box, and I would what a sunset. Okay, sounds a little cliched, but that's okay. We'll drop that inside there. And all we have to do is just scale it, and then it will fit. And we can actually, I think we can scale the thought bubble. Oh, maybe not proportionally. That's okay. Find a thought bubble that, or a speech bubble that fits better. And that's how I would make a comic. A few more things that I should probably tell you about this. If we go back to Elements, and we go back to Shapes, and we go back to shapes. Okay, if we go back to frames, sorry, not shapes. A couple more things that we can do here. Okay, so there's a few more things that we can do with frames still. We're not quite finished with frames. So let's go back to frames. Let's go see all. And you see this little frame maker thing. We're going to come back to that in a second. I want to show you one other thing first. Some of these have a frame around them already. And if you, well, this is a fairly complex one, but if we click up here, we should be able to change the color of that frame. Okay, and you can actually set it to whatever color you want. You pick a color, and you can set it to that frame. If you want to do that for sort of a theme, you could select all of your frames to fit that same color. So let's go back to frames again. We'll see all. And as you scroll down, you see there's a huge variety of different frames inside of here. They all work the same way. Some have fancy edges or borders on them. Some have no borders. There's just about no limit to what's inside of here. Okay, here's kind of an interesting one. If we click on it, you notice you can't change the colors on this one. This one you can. It just depends on the actual frame. And some have simply allowed that ability and some don't. Okay, and again, I click on this one, you can see that I can't really make too many changes to it. Okay, so there's one last thing I want to show you though that's quite neat. We can also click up here, let's go back all the way up and go use app. Now we can customize them. So if I move this over to here, for example, and then simply just click wherever you want your other point. I think I'll just click there. Or double click. And now we can create our own shape. If I double click up here, we've got another one. Okay, so we can make some fairly complicated shapes. In fact, we can even change the number of columns. You notice how the number of vertices inside of our graph is changing. So we can change the grid columns as well too. I maybe leave it at like 16 or something. Okay, so we can custom design them once you're ready. Once you've created something here, we got sort of these mountains, I guess. Let's add another one here. Once you've got what you want, click Add to Design. And again, if I were to go back and pull in the background, oopsie, I double clicked it. Drag that in there and it fills the frame. Well, I think that's pretty much everything. Hopefully that helps. That's it for now. Over and out.